Often people don't appreciate what's in front of them until it's gone. They take your kindness, your loyalty, your efforts for granted because they think you'll always be there. But when you finally take a step back, when you reclaim your worth, that's when they start to see what they've lost. And suddenly they come running back, full of apologies, regrets, and promises to change. But here's where knowing your worth becomes vital. Regret doesn't equate to respect. Just because they miss you doesn't mean they've learned to value you. Often regret comes from a place of selfishness. They regret losing the comfort you provided, the consistency, the love, the support. But those are things you should never have to beg for. And if someone could only recognize your value after they've hurt you, then they never truly respected you in the first place.
Life isn't about waiting for someone to realize your worth, it's about realizing it yourself first. The truth is, there will come a time when people will walk away from you. They might lose you because of their own choices, their ignorance, or because they failed to see the light you bring to their life. And I know that hurts, it shakes you to your core. But here's the magic, you are not the one who lost, they are. See, when someone loses you, they don't lose just a person, they lose your love, your loyalty, your energy. They lose someone who could stand by them when the storm hit. They lose a source of warmth, positivity, and power that can't be replicated. That's why it stings so much for them later, because the world is filled with noise, but so few people bring genuine peace, and you are one of those rare souls. Now, I want you to hear me when I say this, you are not replaceable. Yes, the mind will try to convince you otherwise. It will whisper lies that they moved on, that they are happy without you, that you're forgotten. But do you know why the mind does that? Because it is afraid of letting go of the illusion that your worth is tied to someone else's validation. But when you step back, when you rise above it, you'll see the truth. The peace you carried was your gift. They will search for you in others. They will chase the same comfort, the same connection, but guess what? They won't find it. Why? Because you are one of one. The laughter you brought, the trust you gave, the moments you shared, those are irreplaceable. They'll realize it late, but by then you will have already leveled up. You will have grown, healed, and become stronger. Because the reality is, losing you doesn't just mean they lost a person, it means they lost the one chance they had at something real. So don't sit in your room crying over someone who failed to see your worth. Don't replay the memories trying to understand why. Instead, stand up tall and realize the power you hold.
You know, how comfortable one is feeling their feelings, is male or female, is going to strongly dictate how quickly one moves through grief. This is the same thing as trauma. The more willing someone is to feel the full depth and intensity of the feelings that they associate with that trauma, the more quickly they're going to move through the trauma. People use a number of strategies. They use distraction. They use states like, they sublimate to things like anger and avoidance of various kinds in order to not feel the traumatic feelings or not feel the breakup. People will, try and self-soothe with alcohol or try and self-soothe with multiple new partners or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't work. It just extends it because this map of space, time, and closeness needs to be fractured. And the only way to do that is for the brain to have to confront the reality, which is that whether by death or by breakup, they are no longer available. It's like the food on the other side of that wall is gone. It's just not there anymore. Or that the food that was accessible, now there's a wall in between and you will not get through it. And you can see this actually in animal studies that are kind of hard. They're actually very hard to watch. You'll see the animal perseverate, literally damage its own body trying to get through a barrier to something it's highly motivated to see. People do that post-breakup. They usually do that by talking to everybody about the breakup, which is its own form of perseverating on the motivation. What did I do? What did I do wrong? This and that. And some of that analysis is healthy, some of it's not. Now, why would one group be more, let's just say, effective at dealing with breakups? It's probably the ability to really feel the full intensity of how sad it is and be able to confront that.
Advice for people getting over a breakup.
Cynicism and bitterness are not your friend. That person isn't reflective of women. The person you broke up with isn't reflective of men. That's not helpful, right? So you don't want to overgeneralize. I don't think you want to leap back in any too soon. And you might spend some real time thinking about not so much what the other person did wrong, even though there's nothing more satisfying than that. You should spend some real time thinking about what you did wrong, especially if this has been a pattern. You know, I noticed when I was in college, I broke up with 3 girls, I think, in the space of 6 months, something like that. They were relatively short-term relationships, you know, but they all ended the same way, more or less. And I don't even remember the details, but I thought, oh, that's not them. That's me. And, you know, it took me a while to sort out what it was. Part of it was that I had a tendency, this is very common. In fact, I'm sure it's overwhelmingly the norm. I had a tendency to put any woman that I was attracted to on a pedestal. And that was hard on her. And also, you know, put me in a demeaned position immediately, which was also not attractive, by the way. And so that was an anima problem, technically, and it took me a while to sort that out. Ignoring someone who once played a significant role in your life might seem like an act of strength, but in reality it is often a form of avoidance. The idea of no contact as a strategy is popular because it feels like a form of control. It gives people the illusion that by removing themselves from communication, they are somehow shifting the balance of power. But the truth is, real strength is not found in pretending that someone does not exist. It is found in demonstrating through action and mindset that their presence or absence no longer has the ability to dictate your emotional state. The human mind does not work in absolutes. If someone once held value in your life, their removal does not erase the imprint they left behind. Trying to ignore that reality only pushes those emotions deeper into the subconscious, where they fester and manifest in other ways. You may believe that by cutting off communication you are proving your strength, but if you are constantly checking your phone, wondering if they will reach out, or tracking their social media, you have not truly detached. You are simply engaging in a different form of obsession, one where you measure your power based on their reaction or lack thereof. This is where people get trapped. They think that silence is the loudest response, but silence fueled by resentment, pain, or unresolved feelings is not silence at all. It is just another way of remaining tethered to the past. The person who is truly free is the one who does not need to play the game at all. They do not need to calculate their moves, second-guess their actions, or seek validation through another person's suffering. Their strength comes from their ability to move forward without needing the other person to see it. When you employ no contact as a tactic, you are still in reaction mode. You are still defining your actions based on the other person. They say something, you pull away. They do not reach out, you wonder what it means. Your choices are dictated by their potential response, and in that you have already given them control. What is more powerful than no contact is true emotional detachment, the kind that does not require distance to feel at peace. Emotional detachment does not mean you become cold or indifferent to relationships. It means that you reach a level of self-mastery where external influences do not shake your internal state. It means that whether or not someone reaches out, whether or not they apologize, whether or not they regret losing you, it does not alter the way you feel about yourself. That is real strength, not cutting someone off to make a point, but moving forward because you genuinely have nothing left to say.
Now, what about when it comes to breakups? What's the fastest way that you've seen to be able to get over a breakup?
You remind yourself of the vision you have for yourself in the future. And let's say, for example, your vision is, I want to be a really successful man, and I want to be married with kids, and I want to be able to trust my wife. And if that person fits into that vision, fantastic, you can try and make it work. But if that person doesn't align with where you see yourself in the future, then instead of holding on and trying to mold over them and worry about them, you try and just remember your vision and just be happy for the person and be like, I hope she meets somebody who's right for her. And it's really tough to do that. But we can't be moaning and missing someone and be happy for them at the same time. If you truly love someone, you'll be like, I hope she finds someone who is good for her. But me personally, I've got this particular vision. She doesn't fit that vision. She's great for me now, but she's not going to be aligned with me in the future. So I hope she meets someone who's good for her right now. And I can try and let go of my ego.
I've been through painful breakups in my life, and here is my advice to you on how to survive a breakup. 1, accept that the breakup is the right thing and that it's happened. 2, accept that you can control nobody except yourself. 3, realize that you cannot invest your well-being in the perception of another person. 4, learn to let go and move on. 5, trust that the future is going to be okay for you. That not only are you going to find someone more appropriate, because that in a sense is a repetition of the pattern that you're trying to break, but that you will find in this world everything you need if you are willing to let go of other people's approval as the primary source for your spiritual nutrition, and instead find a connection to something beyond that. So you relinquish the person as an ideal, you become open to better possibilities, and primarily you let go of the idea that you know what's best for you. You open yourself up to new advice, and you recognize that you are worthy of real love.